The objective of this lab is to create an SR latch. The S stands for set and the R stands for reset. So essentially there's three stages, one in which the two inputs set the circuit, another one that resets the circuit, and another one where it's just a hold state, aka that whatever the initial output that the circuit is putting, it's still going to continue outputting that. So this is essentially the schematics. Essentially you have two inputs, one is R and one is S, and they go into a NAND gate, and then the output of the first NAND gate goes into the input of the second NAND gate, and the input of the second NAND gate is also an input of the first NAND gate. And so what this essentially does is that, so when R is 0 and S is 0, then that means the circuit is on hold. However, when R becomes 1 and S is 0, then that means the entire thing is reset. So Q becomes 0, Q naught becomes 1. And then in a case when S becomes 1 and R is 0, then the circuit is set. aka Q becomes 1 and Q naught becomes 0. So the values of so in this case, this chip has 4 NAND gates. The values of the resistor is 100 ohms, and the reason why we have these resistors here is not to blow out the bulb, and the voltage that goes in is 5 volts. The procedure in building the circuit was essentially just following the schematics. The way to do this, I guess, is that I first obviously had to plug in VCC and ground to the chip in order for it to function, and then I added the bulbs and the resistors. And the way I configured the wires over here is that these gray ones I thought would represent the inputs, and the yellow wires would represent the output of one NAND gate going to the input of the other. And the way I organize this procedurally is first I plugged in the gray wires or the inputs, and then I took the outputs and connected them into the inputs. Right now the two inputs are 1, 1, and they're both high. So that means they're on the hold stage or the no change state. And the reason why 1, 1 is that state is because we have a NAND, we're building an SR latch using 2 NAND gates. So now if I turn this into 0, 1 by releasing this, and then nothing really changes because right now it started off with the set stage, aka the red light bulb is up. So now I'm going to put this back into 1, 1 and now change the inputs into 1, 0. So as soon as I do that, then the circuit gets reset, which is why the blue light lights up. So now if I put the two inputs back onto both high again, the circuit is still at hold. So now it's still at hold. So that's why the blue light stays on. But then again, if I change this back into 0, 1, then the red light starts glowing again because it just got set. And now I'm going to put this back onto high, both high again into 1, 1, and the thing is still holding, and it's still, the red light is still on. So the main problem with this lab was that I remembered in class we used 2 NOR gates, and with the NOR gates, the hold or not change state was when the two inputs were 0 and 0. However, I didn't realize that the NAND gates would make it opposite, so that the 0, 0 would be the non-natural state, and the 1, 1 would actually be the hold state. So that took some trial and error before I realized that, and that was the problem I had. So in conclusion, the circuit works, and I've learned how an SR latch gate works. However, the interesting thing is that there's also an unnatural state. In this case, it's when both of the inputs are 0 and 0. So to see what happens in this unnatural state, I first connected the two inputs, these gray wires over here, both to a common source, which is the button, and I connected the button to a voltage.
So essentially is that when I start pressing the button, both of these are going to oscillate between, so both of these are going to, so if I press the button, both of them are either going to go to 1 or both of them are going to go to 0. So in this case, that when both of them are 0 is the unnatural state. And to see what effect it has on this is that I turn on the power source and then I start pressing the button to sort of put it on a hold mode, is which when both of these are 1 and when the button is down. And from when I release the button, which is in its unnatural state, when both of them are 0. So I do that a few times, and essentially is that in this, the existence of this unnatural state makes it so that these the set reset doesn't really operate anymore, because when I start pressing it, either both of them are lit up or both of them are not lit up, and one of them is this one is actually supposed to be Q and this is supposed to be Q not, and the fact that they're both the same means that there's something wrong.